I'm finally doing this video. I've been procrastinating on making a video on Assassin's Creed Shadows for almost a month now. And finally I decided to just get this video out of the way because it's been starting to feel like that weight. Assassin's Creed Shadows, the latest entry of the Assassin's Creed franchise game series, not including Black Flag Resync, that was released recently. So, instead of playing it at launch, I waited until 2026, after all the updates, patches, and the internet drama died down. My main concern was, is this another Ubisoft open world game? Or was it actually a good solid Assassin's Creed game? Well, let's find out. For over a decade, the Assassin's Creed franchise has been one of Ubisoft's money maker. Even at its lowest point, they would sell millions of units. So after several years with settings spanning from Italy, Spain, the Americas, and so on, they finally landed in feudal Japan. This was one of the franchise's most anticipated settings. Because when I associate assassins with Japan, I think of ninjas. And this setting would put the game under a microscope, regardless of what Ubisoft delivered. But to make sure that game reaches everyone, you need some form of marketing. And there is nothing better in this current age than controversial marketing. And no aspect of Assassin's Creed Shadows generated more sustained global discourse than the discussion to feature Yasuke, a historical African figure in relation to Japan, as a co-protagonist alongside the fictional Japanese shinobi Naoe set during the Sengoku period. Shadows positioned Yasuke as a legendary samurai, serving directly under the powerful warlord Lord Oda Nobunaga. While the franchise has historically operated within the realm of speculative fiction, blending documented events with ancient mythology and secret societies. But the inclusion of Yasuke ignited an intense, multifaceted controversy. This debate transcended the standard entertainment discourse, touching upon complex issues of historical authenticity, cultural appropriation, diverse mandates, and academic integrity. Personally, I think it was a stupid point of discussion then, and it still is now. Ubisoft could have easily put a disclaimer that all figures are based on fiction, or the game is loosely based on historical events. Hence, why I think the whole thing was a farce to push engagements and get people talking about the game before it was released. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into what the game is actually like. Shadows starts out kinda slow. You spend the first few hours of the game mostly in cutscenes, giving you context about the main cast. It serves as an extended cinematic tutorial that introduces the player to the brutal reality of the Sengoku period, while also giving a feel that the game would be more story-driven. And well, that was my fault, okay? My bad for assuming this game would be story-driven. Crucially, the cinematics themselves are a major step up. In previous Assassin's Creed games, conversations were often relegated to stiff, awkward back-and-forth camera angles. Shadows trades this for fully fleshed out cutscenes with much stronger dialogue. If you're enjoying this video, please be sure to hit like and subscribe. Let's continue. And the open worlds. I'm sure we all can agree the Ubisoft's worlds are always amazing to look at and beautiful. The open worlds always feel incredibly dense and lived in, with the dynamic seasons and weather mechanics helping me feel immersed in this world. And though Shadows world looks amazing, if you've played recent Ubisoft open world games, the map will feel the exact same. It gives a feeling of that Ubisoft map DNA. And I get it. The price we pay for having amazing open worlds of Ubisoft games, we have to pay in having a checklist-heavy, level-gated sprawl with an overwhelming volume of loot to grind. But they decided to add something new this time, the scout system, which was an attempt to reduce waypoint chasing. I think it's but whatever, I guess. Then I got to a cutscene where a fight broke out and the music instantly took me out of the game. The score blended historical and modern sounds, and I didn't like that blend. I don't know much about traditional Japanese music, but the atmosphere the background music was supposed to set just didn't click for me. Now, for the main cast, Naoe and Yasuke. First off, I want to express my disappointment in how they made the game seem, with Naoe and Yusuke being co-stars, but in reality, it is Naoe and then Yasuke. Naoe is the main character of the game, both in story and gameplay wise. The game is built around her, so you do 90% of the stuff that makes Assassin's Creed as Naoe, like assassination, stealth, and more importantly, climbing. Yasuke, on the other hand, feels like an afterthought, or it would be better to say that he feels like an add-on. He is the exact opposite of what the game is meant to be. He is heavy, clunky, and is just brute strength. You can't really enjoy the game playing as him outside of his assigned roles within the game. And I guess it makes sense why Yasuke would be like this, but it just sucks that there was so much BS about this character and he is rarely useful within the game. Also, the first time you actually play with Yasuke, it feels like it was 3 hours into the game, so it isn't like you play 2 different storylines or something. You just wait for him to eventually show up after you finish the long tutorial. And the gameplay loop. Shadows blends resource gathering and exploration. Pretty much, to progress the game, you are forced to explore castles to get resources to build and upgrade buildings at your base or hideout. Rather than a simple linear progression, the mechanics are designed to feed into one another, forcing you to balance active fieldwork with passive economic management. And I hate everything about it. Because on top of all of that, you need to use scouts to gather the materials you need to build and upgrade, while also having a limited amount of scouts. And to get more scouts, you need to spend the in-game currency or wait till the season changes. I hate this stuff because it feels like a forced progression system that bloats the game. All this stuff makes the time you spend in the game feel like a chore, especially at the beginning. The most glaring flaw in the loop is the aggressive level scaling. Because enemies automatically scale to match your level, the advantage of upgrading your gear and unlocking new skills is largely neutralized. At this point in my playthrough, I realized how much I hated the RPG elements. Combat-wise, it felt like you had no impact on what the enemy is going to do. For example, when I would attack an enemy while they are mid-animation, and they would just continue their attack, like nothing is happening to them. I get that she isn't supposed to be strong, and she's more of a finesse type of character, but it just takes me out of it. And this is because of the RPG elements. When you come across a regular mob with health and a shield bar, it just looks so If you're going to have shields, at least give a visual cue, like armors or something. Eventually, I just gave up on having straight one-on-one combat and went for a kunai build where I just need to sneak, headshot them and instantly kill them because I couldn't be bothered with it anymore. And then the narrative. Shadows intentionally halts narrative momentum to force engagement with the game's mechanics. The campaign frequently hits grind walls, where you are forced to spend hours clearing identical camps just to harvest enough resources to upgrade a building, so you can upgrade a weapon, so you can survive the next story mission. And speaking of story mission, to allow players to tackle the massive map and assassination targets In almost any order, the game relies on a highly non-linear structure, but you also need to be a certain level to progress, which shows how stupid that is, leading to a loss of narrative momentum, making the story feel disjointed. They also had a unique way of showing the missions you need to go and do, and your assassination targets, which is cool, but it did it in a way where it looked visually overwhelming, giving an illusion of freedom when there really is no freedom. Ultimately, the loop forced me to spend 20 hours in an economic system that rarely felt good or enjoyable. Eventually, I felt burnt out and had to play the game in intervals over the span of a month. And even then, I came to accept that I can't force myself to enjoy something for the sake of it, because I'll just end up hating it even more. Despite all the bad things about Shadows, I would say that it's a good game. If there was a checklist of what makes a good game, it would check 90% of those things off. But for me personally, it's not an enjoyable game to play. If you're the type of person who thinks along the lines of, I spent X amount of money on this, so I want Y amount of hours to get my money's worth, I would say that Shadows does a great job of giving you your money's worth in the time you spend playing the game. But for me, if the game is 4 hours long and I enjoyed every minute of it, I will think that I got my money's worth from it. But realistically, Ubisoft is still relying on the same padding techniques, substituting the narrative capabilities with overwhelming quantity of activities to do. Shadows is a highly polished, visually stunning treadmill, but it still remains a treadmill like most Ubisoft games. But let me know what you think. Have you played Shadows? Did you enjoy it? Let me know down in the comments below, and please be sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.